Hoppers. And I gotta say, this movie doesn't feel like it's meant for kids. Hello there, namaste. So I just finished watching the movie Hoppers, and it's primarily about a kid who grows up unhappy, I guess, and has a teacher, a professor at school who invented technology to transfer their brains into machines in order to spend time around the animals. And this film doesn't feel like it's for kids because first, when you have a kids film, you kind of get to the point quickly. You kind of make it entertaining so that way kids can actually have, the spectacle in front of their eyes. So that way they can laugh, they can have a good time, and they cannot get distracted easily. This one starts off way too slowly. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to finally get to the point and to where it finally actually starts. And that's a long span of time, especially for kids. And especially when you're just introducing an absolutely obnoxious character, because we follow this animal rights activist or whatever who literally doesn't care about anyone else and just constantly bugs people. They show her annoying people going door to door and basically bugging people, or standing outside, like I guess a Starbucks, and telling people to sign her pamphlet. The typical obnoxious activist type thing. And she's basically standing up against the politician, which is funny. I remember the politician's name, Jerry. And the whole concept is how they're both literally the same. There's the politician who only cares about himself and is trying to further his political agenda. And then again, you find out that the lead character, she only cares about herself. She uses animals, she uses people, she steals technology in order to further her own goal. And that's the thing, it's just like, it goes way over a kid's head, and a lot of it really isn't funny until you finally see her fighting a bear. And you see that in the trailer, and that's like one of those things that's funny, but it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to get to that point. And then you finally see like the animal kingdom and what it does. And it for a kids movie targets some dark tones. I mean, about the loss of family, which a lot of kids film have done periodically throughout time, but which Hollywood has gotten away from. So I give it respect for that. It's just this film was very dark. I mean, you literally have the lead character murder a parent to somebody in front of their eyes, and then that person becomes the next villain of the entire series. The whole thing is kind of convoluted but enjoyable, but at the same time it seems to go way above kids' heads, because I was watching it in theaters and the kids were just making random noises. They weren't even paying attention because there was no dangling keys for the kids to enjoy, to watch and be like, oh, okay, I can stare at this and actually see something. There was nothing there for that. And the characters were so obnoxious that nobody could relate to them. Like, I could see it for what it was because I was on the outside being like, oh, I hate this person. I hate this person. I hate this person. Oh, the grandmother. Now she's the best part, but she's not in it. Yeah, but it does target some like dark things like suffering loss. How do you move on in life? Feeling like you don't belong in society, or those kinds of questions. How do you get along with nature when nature doesn't seem to accept human life, and human life doesn't seem to accept nature as a whole? There are a lot of little thought-provoking things which I did enjoy. I just wish that this film didn't have such an obnoxious character. Yes, did both the hero and the villain kind of come to an understanding at the end of the film? Yes, and I like that because they realized even though they're so different, they're literally the same person. They're very self-centered. They only care about themselves. They're willing to do anything, lie, cheat, and steal in order to get their objective. They both did the exact same thing. And I gotta say, I like that. It was just like, yes, no matter how polarizing people can be, you can always find common ground. And what's funny is they found common ground in the fact that they're both terrible people. I mean, that's the worst kind of common ground you can find, but they found that common ground. And I do gotta say that it is kind of a tearjerker because there's so many moments where it just hits hard, especially when it's like losing friends, losing family, not fitting in. Those kind of concepts hit people hard. It didn't seem to work for the kids in the audience or the parents who were scrolling on their phones, but for me watching it and my wife watching it, I could understand what it was going for. And I gotta say, I did enjoy the film overall, even though it starts off introducing it as a kids film, but they shot it as if it's meant for like young adults to adults. It doesn't have those quick paces. It doesn't have the jangling keys. It doesn't have those things that really have you sucked in. And it doesn't really have any comedic beats either for either kids or adults until you get way into it. I don't recommend going out to see it, but I do recommend people watching it at least once. It does seem like it would be something worth it because it is entertaining eventually, and it does feel like it has a very important message. Because one thing I like is that people, no matter what, unless you're an absolute extremist, you can always find common ground with somebody. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles!
You guys got a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait like that.